Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia offers the widest selection of sports cards and signed memorabilia in the city. For dedicated casual and new collectors, Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia has everything a collector could ask for. Everything we sell is stored with care, and with help from our knowledgeable team, we'll help you find exactly what you're looking for. We carry Upper Deck hockey card brands like Series 1 and 2, the Cup, Ultimate, SPA, and plenty more. So what are you waiting for? Come down to Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia, Winnipeg's premier sports cards and memorabilia store. Mid-Canada Fasteners and Tools has been the place to shop for your industrial needs for over 20 years. Carrying the tools you need to get the job done from the brands you can trust, Mid-Canada Fasteners and Tools has you covered. Brands like Milwaukee Tool, established in 1924 and on display in our Milwaukee Red Zone, the largest red zone in Winnipeg. With construction workers and tradespeople in mind, Mid-Canada Fasteners and Tools is your one-stop shop for all your industrial needs. So come on down to our Winnipeg store location today, located on 1557 King Edward Street in Winnipeg, Manitoba. And good afternoon, Manitoba female U18 AAA Hockey League fans, and to another edition of the MFHL podcast for Season 2, Episode 14, on your home for MFHL hockey in the province of Manitoba on G-Show Productions on gshow.ca. I'm your host, Graham the G-Show Forsyth. This edition of the MFHL podcast, as always, brought to you by Mid-Canada Fasteners and Tools, Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia, Terrico, and goaltenders. Speaking of goaltenders, going to have two on the show today. Joining me as guests in Winnipeg Ice senior goaltender Bailey Grunewald and Yellowhead Chiefs senior goaltender in Clair Merckx. Before we get into all of that, though, we're going to update you on how last week went in the MFHL, as well as, an update about how this week started off. There's been some cancellations in play, which we'll get to in just a moment. But, last Friday there were 4 games on tap, which saw the Interlake Lightning, Pembina Valley Hawks coming away with 2 huge victories. Huge in terms of the standings implications, as we'll get to soon here. The Yellowhead Chiefs taking care of business, winning 4-1 against the Brandon Wheat Kings, and the Eastman Selects, with that win, it put them into first place, jumping over the Winnipeg Avros. But the Avros would bounce back on Saturday with a huge 5-0 victory over Central Plains on a matchup on MFHL game day. The Eastman Selects ended up falling in OT to the Winnipeg Ice in an entertaining one, an instant classic there. For Interlake, winning in a big game for themselves against the Westman Wildcats, as well, as you can see there on Saturday. As for Sunday's action, the Brandon Wheat Kings kept up their winning ways with a 5-3 victory. Big second period with 4 goals there over the Interlake Lightning. Eastman finished their weekend strong there with a 3-1 victory. And Pembina Valley, it took overtime for them to take down the Central Plains Capitals. Then the week started on Wednesday, where the Winnipeg Ice ended up taking down the Eastman Selects once again. They win their season series against Eastman 3-1, winning 3 in a row against them as well. This time not needing OT, as the last 3 matchups of that season series had gone the distance there. So on to the rest of this week. 12 action. 2 games were canceled last night, the only 2 games on the schedule due to the blizzard that came down on all of Manitoba. Or most of Manitoba at the very least. Canceling both of these games as they were supposed to be played in both Winnipeg and in Portage La Prairie. Be sure to check out the MFHL's website as they will be rescheduling the games on further dates here in the remainder of the regular season. As for how the rest of Week 12 looks, though, however, 3 games today. A quadruple header coming up tomorrow with one evening game there, an all Winnipeg matchup between the Avros and the Winnipeg Ice. And this is how we head into the rest of this Week 12 action in the standings. The Winnipeg Avros looking to jump back into first place, of course. Eastman looking to stay there. The Winnipeg Ice, of course, looking to move further up into the standings too, or move further up in their point totals, I should say, as they're not going to be moving in the next few games for sure, given their point totals right now. Pembina Valley, by the way, they've been able to get away from this winter Manitoba weather by getting out to Boston in the States, down in Massachusetts, to take on some opponents in a weekend tournament there. So best of luck to Pembina Valley. Hope they're enjoying their time down there. And yeah, we'll be getting into some more stuff from around this league coming up in terms of results, news, and all of that in a little while here. We're going to throw it to our first interview, though, where Bailey Grunewald is going to be joining me on this edition of the MFHL podcast to talk about how the season's been going so far for herself, the things that she really took away from last season and has put into her game this year to become a better version of herself in net, as well as talking about the upcoming games and much more on this edition of the MFHL podcast with Bailey Grunewald, number 1 goaltender of the Winnipeg Ice, joining me next. It's number 1 goaltender of the Winnipeg Ice in her final season here in the league, second year in the MFHL in general, and Bailey Grunewald of the Winnipeg Ice. Bailey, thanks for taking the time and joining the show. We were able to broadcast your team's last 2 games against the Eastman Selects, the most recent one last night. Of course, you weren't in net for that one, but you were witness to your Ice squad picking up another victory against the Eastman Selects, this time 3-1. What was that like watching from the bench this time, watching this team come away with another victory?
Yeah, it was a really great win, I think, for our team's confidence and for my goalie partner's confidence as well. Um, we were playing in all zones of the ice. It was definitely a gritty win too. Like there wasn't a lot of shots for either end, so it sort of just mattered on who was winning the small battles. And I think we capitalized well on our chances. And overall, it was just a really great victory.
You froze up for some reason. Now you're good. You're good now. I'll move into the next question. Yeah, and for yourself, of course, last year you were the rookie on the Winnipeg Ice. Now you're the experienced goaltender, and Gina being the rookie on this year's squad. What's that been like, that relationship between you two? And given that you have that history of being on the younger side last year.
Yeah, last year with Laura, like I had a great experience, and I feel like she really prepared me for this year to be that like older goaltender for Gina. Um, Getting to be partners with Gina this year has been incredible. She's such an amazing girl. She's so positive. Like I've never met a more positive girl, and I feel like she's just somebody that I really relate to. We both go to each other when we have issues. You never really like as a goaltender, the only person that's going to understand your issues is your goalie partner. So I think it's really important to have a close relationship. Obviously, like we're both, we both want the net, but whether doesn't matter who's playing, we're both going to be there for each other. And she's such a talented goaltender, and I'm super excited to see kind of where she goes.
How has that, helped push you, I guess, on the ice, diving more into that, given that, of course, she's a talented goaltender, like you said, and you two have that close relationship, but the competitive side of things, how's that been?
It's been great. Like we both push each other to be better. I got the chance to work with her in the summer too, which I think was like great for the start of our relationship. But we both give each other pointers on like how to help each other out. And I think more we just motivate each other. Like it's not really like we don't see it as like competition, more just like
Right.
motivate.
Right, and I think that's a great way to look at it, right? And something that has definitely helped out this Winnipeg Ice team that has been getting better and better as the season goes along. Now, 10 points back of the Winnipeg Abros heading into this weekend's action. But given that, you were on this team last year as a rookie, now you're on the older side of things, given that there's been newer players that have come in too, how have you felt that this whole group as a whole has gelled together as the season's gone along?
Yeah, like we said, we're a really young team, so obviously at the start of the year there was definitely some like bumps to get over. We had a lot of new girls going into new positions that they weren't necessarily in last year too. But I feel like kind of as the seasons progressed, like we didn't really focus so much on the start of winning, more just like learning, and it's really paid off now where we're getting those hard gritty wins. Girls are they're falling into place. I feel like people are learned their positions now, and it's more just like nitpicking like the small details of our game. And our new players have definitely adjusted now to kind of the pace of the game.
Yeah, and we've definitely seen that here on the network as the season's gone along. I had a chance to text Eugene Kaminsky, your head coach, actually after the team's big win against Eastman back in December in overtime, and he felt like that was the game that truly got the swagger back into this Winnipeg Ice team in terms of knowing that you could go out and win that type of game against that type of Eastman team, who's still first and was, I think, first place at the time then or close to that, but. Since then, have you felt like that's truly been the moment when things really started to click for this team's confidence at a full level?
Yeah, we definitely got some momentum coming off of that game, and we've just kind of kept building from there. I feel like our practices recently have been very high paced too, which definitely helps. Our coaches have been constantly motivating us throughout the season, and I think what from that win, like it just kind of was like, show that like we can do this, and that just because we're young doesn't mean that like we're not just as good as the next team. Um, and I think like we just have to kind of keep up the momentum going into our next games.
Well, for yourself this season, I mean, you've been keeping up your consistency in net record wise 10, 5, 3, 1, and 2 in all games played. That's just me reading off all the numbers on the record on the Winnipeg Ice website. But you go 16 and 5 last season with one overtime loss in there. How have you felt that, your development's been like in this second season, being more used to the playing style and the speed of the MFHL?
Yeah, so last year, I feel like I definitely had um, a couple setbacks. More like I was going through some mental blocks. I feel in the net. I was kind of fighting the puck a bit halfway through the season, and in my off season, I really sort of worked on my mental game. I right now I'm working with a mental coach. His name's Robert Broughton. He works for Align Your Mind, and he's really helped me build my confidence and sort of has helped me get to where I am, I think, this season. And I feel like sort of my consistency has been due to the fact that I've worked on my mental game. It's like kind of a part of goaltending that like sometimes gets ignored. But like goaltending is 90% confidence and mentality. And I feel like I've just really made a jump in that step in my game recently. And it's definitely shown on the ice.
Yeah, and I think that's great that you've gone, to a mental coach feeling like, you need to take that step, right? And I think that, like you said, being a goaltender, it's such a mental game. And I feel like there's probably a lot more goaltenders now that I don't have any numbers or research to back this up, but I just got a feeling that we're hearing more stories now about just professional athletes and athletes in general going to mental coaches, which I think can definitely be great to have that of perspective, that type of person in your corner. How much, I guess, would you recommend having a mental coach to a goaltender out there? Like you said, that, may be going through some struggles in their game and may need another voice in there to help them out.
I would highly recommend it really for any athlete, especially like right now with how important like your mental health is with hockey. And I
Hmm.
just that it helps kind of keep you grounded in situations where like there's things that you can control in hockey, and it's just somebody to remind you that it's not on you, and also to just help you give you tools that can help you make your game even better. And I think really like you should be using any sort of tool you can to make your game better, and it's kind of just part of the game that people don't really pay enough attention to.
I guess diving more into it, in a specific example, that most recent game that you played in against Eastman saw that you ended up getting player of the game from your team, and you were big time in that game in some big moments. Do you feel like, the work you've done with the mental coach, like you talked about last season, kind of having some mental blocks on the ice, do you feel like that's helped you thrive more in the big moments this year, knowing that you're able to block out the noise and just stay in the present more so?
Yeah, I feel like I don't feel as much pressure as I used to, and I just feel like I'm able to maintain a consistent confidence when I'm in the net. Um, I definitely don't feel as many outside pressures as I did before I started seeing him. And overall, I just think like he's really helped me prepare for those big moments.
Yeah, and that's great to hear, and I'm sure that given that the relationship's been so good from what you're telling us, that this could be a long-lasting one with this mental coach specifically for you. Given the success you've had this year with the Winnipeg Ice and throughout your time throughout these 2 years, are you looking to go to that next step to commit to the university level to play hockey outside of just the minor game at the U18 AAA level? Is there a next step for Bailey Grunewald coming up?
Yeah, I actually a couple weeks ago was announced I'm committed to Minot State University. Um, So I'm really excited for that opportunity. I got the chance to go out there this summer and meet the coaching staff, and they have really great facilities, and um, my sort of values aligned with the coaches a lot. And I got a chance to meet some of the girls, and the atmosphere was great. So I think it's going to be a really great opportunity for myself to continue to play hockey and have fun. And I also am going to get the chance to play with my teammate Laz. So I'm really excited about that. Me and Laz get along well. So yeah.
Yeah, and of course, you two are going to make more friends throughout your time there at Minot State at the collegiate level coming up. Super exciting. Is that what went into the decision? I guess you went into saying that it came down to just you felt like it was a really good fit. Was Minot a place that was on your radar before making a decision going into this year's process?
Yeah, so it's kind of always been like on the back of my mind because also how close it is to home. I'm a bit of a homebody, so just like it being only a drive away was really important to me. My parents can come out whenever I like they want to come watch me play, which I think is really important. But I sort of started talking to them in the spring of last season, and then they got the chance to watch me play in the fall. And then I don't know when they called me, it was just kind of like it was a no-brainer for me. I just feel like that's where I kind of belonged.
Yeah, and always great to hear when players are excited about that fit, right? Because that's the team you're going to be playing for the foreseeable future coming up here. Congratulations to yourself, Bailey, on making what's a great commitment, a life-changing commitment, I guess, to Minot State coming up to continue your playing career there. But still staying in the present, a lot of work left to do with this Winnipeg Ice squad. A busy weekend coming up for this team. 3 games in 3 days, coming off of that victory from last night. This team obviously looking to ride off that momentum and the good momentum that's been building here for a while. But with 3 tough games coming up, what's the mindset for this team heading in to try to stay as fresh as possible?
It's, I would say it's more just kind of focus on one game at a time. Every game is equally as important as the other, and we also just kind of want to keep up our momentum that we've been building. And I think also something that's really important for us right now is to play a consistent game. We still kind of have yet to play a full 60 minutes. So I feel like that would be something that we're looking to accomplish this weekend against the Capitals and the Avros. And at the end of the day, we're looking to get those 6 points out of this weekend. So hopefully we come out of it with 3 wins.
Yeah, and of course, crosstown rivalry coming up to finish off the weekend for this Winnipeg Ice team. But first, a back-to-back, a doubleheader against Central Plains. First on the road tonight when this podcast comes out on this Friday morning, then back at home on Saturday at the Hockey for All Center. Bailey Grunewald, #1 goaltender for the Winnipeg Ice, joining this edition of the MFHL podcast. Thanks for taking the time, Bailey, and best of luck to you and your Ice teammates the rest of the way here.
Thank you, Graham.
And Bailey Grunewald, #1 of the Winnipeg Ice senior goaltender, joining this edition of the MFHL podcast. on G-Show Productions, on gshow.ca, brought to you by Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia, Goaltenders, McKenna Fasteners and Tools, and Terrico. As for the standings, Hal Bailey's Winnipeg Ice are looking only 10 points back now of the Winnipeg Avros for second place. They got 3 games in hand as well. There should actually be a 23, I believe, games played. Just taking a look at the MFHL standings, looks like we'll have to make a correction here. But, no, sorry, we just added on a loss too many for the Winnipeg Ice. They're at 16, 4-2 on the season, making it 34 points for them. 3 games in hand on the Winnipeg Avros. As for the Yellowhead Chiefs, a few points behind the Winnipeg Ice too. As we take a look at the points and goaltending leaders, Clair Merckx within the top 5 for wins there, as you can see. Winnipeg Ice player and Izzy Mann, top 2 in points in the MFHL right there, as you can see, brought to you by McKenna Fasteners and Tools. We take a look at the goal leaders and the assist leaders too, as Rio Pierre at the very top of the point leaderboards, as well as goals and assists, truly running away with all the point totals leaderboards this year, and Mrs. Rio Pierre. Number 9 for the Winnipeg Avros. Speaking of Clair Merckx, though, however, she's been having a great year here so far in her final season of eligibility in this league. She's also committed to Assiniboine Community College for the upcoming 2025-2026 season, where she'll be going into business. I get into that with her, as well as how the season's been going so far. But before we do that, and there's many more things me and Claire end up talking about her Yellowhead Chiefs and her time there. But coming up next, before we get into that interview, we're going to show you highlights from that thriller of a matchup on Saturday here, where we were in Niverville for MFHL game day, where the Eastman Selects took on the Winnipeg Ice, where the Ice bested Eastman in the shootout. That's coming up next on the MFHL podcast. After that, you'll hear from Clair Merckx, goaltender of the Yellowhead Chiefs, coming up on the MFHL podcast for Season 2, Episode 14, here on G-Show Productions on gshow.ca.
MFHL game day on your home for MFHL hockey on G-Show Productions on gshow.ca. It's number 1 versus number 3 going head-to-head against each other today. The third-ranked Winnipeg Ice taking on the number 1 seed right now in the MFHL in the Eastman Selects. I'm your host for this pregame show, Graham the G-Show Forsyth. Going off for a change, it was Nicholas who dumped it. As this stretched all the way up, connects with Isabella Carrier. Carrier just decides to send it in and off the boards to Callie Remillard, who's denied there by Bailey Grunewald. But the Ice able to survive for the time being. This puck held in. Blake Hawes. Has it blocked up there by Wostasensky. Trying to dangle through, but Normando, a huge defensive stick there to take it away. Kate Cairns, full-time member of this Ice squad this season, in on the draw against Callie Remillard, loses this. This is back to Lexi Remillard. The Twins out there on the ice together. Turned over through the middle. The Ice trying to pounce, but they can't quite. Huge recovery by the Selects. Almost some danger there from the Eastman Selects team, but as has been the case all season long, always recovering so well. Chloe Nicholas tried to dangle away pass, but denied by the good stick of an Eastman defender. To Leah Texiera. Texiera sends this in deep. Abby Dixon drops this back for Vaderigo. Tries to cut up the middle. Another turnover off the shoulder. Huge save there from number 1 and Labossiere. The Ice have been forcing some uncharacteristic mistakes in the select zone from this Eastman squad so far with their good pressure. And they won't stop attacking here. Robbins has Texiera heading to the net. Feeds Texiera. That denied. Rebound, scores! In their own end. Finally chipped this puck out. Delaney Rigo gets it right back, chips it in again. How's a girl heading to the net with her? That shot turned aside by Grunewald. Gabby Robbins. That pass couldn't connect with her. at the blue line. Eastman able to get this out. A 2-on-1 developing potentially. Hepner has Scott Cook with her. Hepner feeds it over to Scott Cook, but high of the net she goes. Not a great one there as it went into the skates of Scott Cook. This played up the right wall, and now Kay Cairns gets this to Talia Jones. Huge back check there by Scott Cook. Takes out Talia Jones as the Selects have this back in their own end. Up the boards and up to Kennedy Carrier. Feeds a pass through the Heidinger. Has Scott Cook with her. Over to Scott Cook this time. Oh, over the net again. Scott Cook now onto the stick of Sophia Heidinger. She looks to work up the other way. Flips it up. Heidinger chases down this puck. Cuts to the middle. Oh, what a move by Heidinger. That shot, the rebound, scores! What magic from number 16 to set up? What's a rebound put in for number 13 and Kennedy Carey? This ends up down low though. It's now onto the stick of Gabby Robbins. Played up to Texier. Quickly across for number 19 Delkley. Back to Texier. Texier. Shot, scores! So they were up 1-0 after the first 20. We're approaching the final minute of play here soon as the Selects look to get this back in. Chipping and going as Vader go. Her shot, scores! Chloe Carrier coming the other way. Has Scott Cook with her. Carrier shifting sides. Looking for a wraparound chance out in front. That pass. Unable to go into the neutral zone. Played across. Claire Hudson has this cut off by Isabella Carrier in the slot. That shot high of the net. Almost stripped away of that puck from Scott Cook. And she does get stripped away in the end as this puck continues to stay in the Winnipeg zone. Kennedy Carrier shot turned aside as Heidinger was looking for that rebound but smothered up by Grunewald. But the Selects can't do anything with it. It's Robbins heading the other way now with Cassie Carvalho. Over to Carvalho! That just over her stick! As it allows for Talia Jones to go after it. Being pinned up along the boards by Chloe Carrier. Nice job by Carrier to move that puck up. Turnover forced. Carvalho now, her shot turned aside. Rebound there, man, trying to get to it. Just over a minute's been played here in this overtime period. Vader go. Misplay here on the puck. Carvalho in the slot, scores! And they've done it again, this time in Niverville. This time around, instead of Wozniacki, it's Cassie Carvalho who plays hero. Disaster for number 17 in Vader go. As she ends up getting beat cleanly in that corner.
McCann Fasteners and Tools has been the place to shop for your industrial needs for over 20 years. Carrying the tools you need to get the job done from the brands you can trust, McCann Fasteners and Tools has you covered. Brands like Milwaukee Tool, established in 1924 and on display in our Milwaukee Red Zone, the largest red zone in Winnipeg. With construction workers and tradespeople in mind, McCann Fasteners and Tools is your one-stop shop for all your industrial needs. So come on down to our Winnipeg store location today, located on 1557 King Edward Street in Winnipeg, Manitoba. It's a goaltender of the Yellowhead Chiefs, Clair Merckx, joining this edition of the MFHL podcast. Claire, you've been having a very strong season for yourself so far this year with Yellowhead, a 12-6-1 record, a 9.33 save percentage, and Yellowhead's been looking pretty good as the season's been going along. What's it been like being able to be so productive here in your, I guess, final season in the MFHL?
It's been pretty good. Our team's been coming together as a family here the last couple of games, and it's helping everyone kind of get together and play the best we can, and just keeps everyone motivational.
No, for sure. And I mean, for this Yellowhead Chiefs team, some good returning players this year, but some rookies as well. Quite a few, young players joining this team. What's that been like for you this season, being in more of a, I guess, mentorship role as one of the older players on the squad?
Yeah, I think that one of the rookies was a goalie, and one of my kind of goals was to kind of lead her through this year. And lots of the rookies kind of stepped up when they knew they should and just kind of knew the role that a rookie should fill and kind of took that more seriously than rookies have in the past. And I'm pretty like happy with our rookies, and our vets have stepped up a lot as well.
Yeah, and I mean, for yourself stepping up quite a bit this year, what do you think has kind of went into you having this type of season? I guess from a skill perspective, was there anything that you went to work on during the off season to help you get ready for anything specifically this year?
Well, I skated about like 4 days a week in Brandon, multiple ice sessions a day, and my goalie coach Dan Averill's pretty good with helping me like watching videos, and he helps a lot with goalies and kind of works on me one-on-one. So kind of worked on everything and just kind of wanted to get my speed up, and um, kind of just knew that I wanted to prove myself this year.
Well, it's definitely helped so far this season as you have a career best 17 wins in 26 total games so far. But as we were texting, getting ready for this interview, you told me that you got to practice at 6:30 and have to leave the house at 3:30. Seems like it's quite a long drive to get to practice. You've been going through this for 3 years now. What's that been like, putting in the travel and, going to work with this Yellowhead Chiefs team? What's that adjustment been like?
It was pretty hard my first year, but you kind of get used to it. It's not that far when you kind of break it down. Once you get to certain towns, it kind of splits it up a bit more. But studying in the car and doing lots of homework on the way to practices, and once you get to the rink, our team's pretty good with like helping you with your homework. And it was an adjustment, but now it's pretty much just my normal life. So
Right on. It's great that you've been able to get so accustomed to it. And yeah, I mean, so many people that I've talked to rave about what a great coach that Derek Tibbetts is in terms of his in-game adjustments and things like that. I've had many chances to talk to Derek. You've had a chance to learn from him and get to know him throughout these 3 years. What's that been like for you and the rest of this Yellowhead Chiefs squad? I guess the veterans in specifics being able to be coached by him for the past 3 years.
yeah, like when I first came to Yellowhead, it was pretty scary to kind of walk into a rink where you kind of don't know anyone. But Derek was kind of like at the door waiting for me, introduce himself, and he's always been kind of like there for you off the ice and on the ice, and pushes you to get better. Like we do lots of video. Everyone usually has video kind of at practice, and he goes through it with you, kind of goes through the motions of what you need to do and how you could get better at this, but nothing really like bad, just kind of helping you improve.
Right. And video is such a huge part of one's player development as well. You spoke about the work you were doing on ice during the off season. How much is, I guess, that helped you in terms of being able to look at the video as frequently as you have throughout these past 3 years to help you better yourself as a goaltender?
Yeah, I think it's just more of like looking for things that I need to work on, and kind of knowing like what's in the video and what I need to do better of. And like our goalie coach Dan, he will go through the videos with you and kind of point out things that you need to work on, and then we'll put that into our Wednesday practices with him. So that helps a lot.
Yeah, and great that, you're able to have so many resources out there on this Yellowhead Chiefs team to be able to, work with it and yeah, improve your game like you've, been talking about throughout this interview. Something that we haven't talked about yet, and we gotta just first off by saying congratulations on committing to Assiniboine College to play with the Cougars for the upcoming seasons. A school with a lot of success in their history, and now you're a part of, the upcoming teams here in the upcoming years. What was that like being able to make that decision official?
It was pretty exciting. I wanted to go far initially from home, but once they kind of talked to me, I kind of looked into the school a little bit more. And one of my friends is a goalie for them right now, and she seems to love it. And just kind of talked to her a little bit, and she talked me into it more. And just a couple weeks ago, I kind of made the decision that I was going to go there, and the coaching staff there is really good, and the staff in general. I met them the other day and kind of walked me through the school and talked about the hockey program, and it seems like something that I really, really wanted to do. So I just kind of took that opportunity.
Right on. And yeah, I mean, you get to, of course, like you said, stay close to home. You join a program with a terrific coaching staff, a good group of players. What are you going to be studying during your time there?
I'm going to do business administration.
Right on. Is that something that you've kind of always wanted to go into? Has business kind of always interested you?
Yeah, probably grade 9, I kind of started once I took different classes in school and just kind of fell in love with it.
Oh, right on. Is there any, I guess, avenue you're looking to take it specifically, or just kind of keeping an open mind heading in?
Just keeping an open mind.
There you go. There you go. I think that's a great way to approach it, of course, going into a new endeavor for yourself. But given the history of the hockey team there, they've been able to win national championships. They've been consistent throughout their history too in placing, as one of the top teams in, the Division Two ACHA. How much does that excite you knowing that you're joining a program with such a rich history of success?
Yeah, it's pretty exciting, and just knowing that the girls get along too. Like, met a couple of them the other day, and everyone seems kind of like a family already. So there's not too worried about the dressing room kind of situation. So it's exciting to know that everyone kind of cares to be there, and it should be fun.
Yeah, and always awesome when you're able to have that type of connection right off the bat, right? And the season isn't even here yet for next year. We're still in this 2024-2025 season where the Yellowhead Chiefs are gonna have a practice coming up tonight, the day this interview is being recorded. Gonna get a day off on Friday, and then at home against the Eastman Selects coming up at 7:30 p.m. I'm coming in Shoal Lake, being one of the top teams in the league, the top team right now heading into this Week 12 action. How much does this motivate this Yellowhead Chiefs team looking to take a win away from this team coming into your house?
Yeah, everyone's pretty excited. Last year we went 0-4 to them, so just kind of a bit more of a boost to kind of take them down on Saturday. And everyone's pretty excited to kind of come back from our weekend. We had a bit of a tough game against Brandon, so everyone kind of wants to prove to our coaches and prove to each other that we need to step up our game in practices. I've been showing that this week, so I'm pretty excited about Saturday.
And that's all you can do, right? Get prepared as best as you can and try to come as ready as you can to play in a place where, it's been said by coaches, players, that's it's a really tough place to play in Shoal Lake. As a player that benefits from, the atmosphere, the way I guess Shoal Lake is set up, how much of an advantage do you feel like that gives this Yellowhead Chiefs team, given that this game is at home?
Yeah, you can kind of tell when teams come, they're a little bit shaken up by Shoal Lake, and we like to kind of lately been liking to kind of run onto the ice and just show the teams that we're here to play. We're not messing around, and Shoal Lake is home, and we know it is, and teams are kind of scared to come. So that's kind of just a little bit of a thing to keep in the back of our mind, but we can't let that get to us.
And Clair Merckx joined this edition of the MFHL podcast, number 33 for the Yellowhead Chiefs. Of course, her Chiefs in action tonight in Shoal Lake at home to take on the Eastman Select. Should be a good one. G-Show Productions will not be making the trip out here for that evening game tonight. We were going to, but just in terms of travel and in terms of getting crew, we were unable to for tonight's game. Hoping to make it out to Yellowhead at some point, of course, this season, maybe even next season, maybe even for playoffs coming up. As Yellowhead, we take a look at the standings right now. They're in fourth place. They'd be taking on the Pembina Valley Hawks if the playoffs were to end today. Of course, with Brandon being added in as a ninth team, there's going to be a play-in series between 8 versus 9. Brandon getting some good separation into seventh from the bottom of the standings, as they've really been picking it up as the season's been going along. Win-wise, went through some struggles there as 2024 went along, but 2025 has been treating them well so far. Eastman and Winnipeg, the Avros, that is, the two top teams will be for the next little while here, depending on if anything below them in the standings starts to change, which it's looking like it kind of is. The Winnipeg Ice keep winning and winning here as the season goes along, rounding into form and a potentially, you could say, deeper Winnipeg Ice team this season. That's been led by the likes of Izzy Man offensively. Players like Cassie Carvalho have been big time for this squad as well, and others on the Winnipeg Ice. So we take a look there at Clair Merckx, the guest that just recently joined this show, of course, with a 10-5 record, 3 shutouts, and 9.35 save percentage, looking strong in her last season here of MFHL play, bringing her best yet stats-wise throughout her career. This is a look at the goals leaders and the assist leaders from the league. Delaney Rigaud back into the top 5 in goals there, tied for second with Jessica Anderson, Ivy Perkin. For the full stats, be sure to check out MFHL U18AAA.com for more details. And before we head to our final commercial break, Clair Merckx and Hallie Chablik took home Week 10 Player of the Week award honors. Well, it's a pair of Eastman Slugs who do it for Week 11. Congratulations to Veda Rigaud and Isabelle Labossiere on taking home those Week 11 honors in the MFHL season. Can't wait to see who takes home some awards for week number 10 here, or week number 12 here coming up, as I should say. We're going to throw it to one last commercial break, and then I'll be back for some final words on this edition of the MFHL Podcast, Season 2, Episode 14, on your home for MFHL Hockey on G-Show Productions.
Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia offers the widest selection of sports cards and signed memorabilia in the city. For dedicated casual and new collectors, Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia has everything a collector could ask for. Everything we sell is stored with care, and with help from our knowledgeable team, we'll help you find exactly what you're looking for. We carry Upper Deck hockey card brands like Series 1 and 2, The Cup, Ultimate, SPA, and plenty more. So what are you waiting for? Come down to Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia, Winnipeg's premier sports cards and memorabilia store.
And welcome back to this edition of the MFHL podcast. If you've made it to this point, well, congrats, you made it to the end of another edition of this show, brought to you by Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia, Winnipeg's premier sports cards and memorabilia store. Be sure to check them out at 995 Miltsteagle Drive here in the city at their one and only store location, as well as checking out their website at CanCentralSportsCards.com. Thank you to them, Terrico, Make Cannon Fasters and Tools and Goaltenders for sponsoring another edition of this show. As for us with MFHL Game Day, we won't be back in action broadcasting until this Wednesday night coming up on January 22nd, as we'll be broadcasting the Winnipeg Ice's game at home against the Interlake Lightning. Puck will drop at 7:15 p.m. at the Hockey for All Center. Only 2 games left this season, or this month for us in January. Plenty more coming in February. We're going to get into broadcasting the playoffs coming up next month, too. Super excited for that. We'll have our series that we're broadcasting announced a bit before the playoffs starts, so stay tuned for that coming up next month. Thank you to Clair Merckx as well as Bailey Grunewald for coming on this edition of the MFHL podcast and being the guests. And a special thanks to you, of course, the viewer, for tuning into this one as well. If you enjoyed this edition of the MFHL podcast, be sure to subscribe, leave a like if you want as well. Share it out too. Helps us out by getting the word out and letting more people know about this. Seems like my dog hears something outside. I'm not too sure what he's barking about. Gonna check that out in just a moment here. We'll leave you off with this though, everybody. Of course, Last night's games ended up being canceled due to the blizzard here, the snowstorm throughout Manitoba. They'll be rescheduled for a later date. Be sure to check out the MFHL's website for details on that, when those games will be rescheduled. But as for the rest of the games here in Week 12, from what I've heard and seen, all of the games tonight will be played. Same with tomorrow on Sunday. But check out these teams' social media pages as well as the MFHL social media pages on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter to check out the details of if these games will still be a go. But until next week, MFHL fans, where we'll be back on Friday with all new guests and all new content here on the MFHL podcast. Also going to be starting to talk about the Saskatchewan Female U18 AAA Hockey League next week and how that's looking as the winner from that league takes on the winner of this league in this year's West Regional Series, as is tradition, to see who goes on to the SO Cup. Lots more to be determined before we get to the playoffs, though, everybody. We'll have all the news and updates of how this season transpires leading up to that point on the weekly here, coming up with another episode next Friday. Until then, for episode 15, season 2, I've been your host, Graham, the G Show Forsyth, waving so long, peacing out, and hoping everyone has a wonderful and safe rest of their weekend. Take care, everybody. Stay safe out there on the roads if you decide to go driving, especially on the highways. And until next week, everybody, it's Graham Forsyth saying so long. Take care.